first day of May. And what better way to kick off the first day of May and the new month than with Pigskin Frenzy? Guys, we have more spring results for SEC teams on tap. The other day, it was 4 Big Ten teams. Now we're going to the other conference, the other major conference in the Power Four, 4 SEC teams. We got Georgia. We have Texas A&M, Texas, and Oklahoma Springs all on tap as they are wrapped up and concluded here as we get ready to give our results on what we saw from their spring here on Pigskin Frenzy. Guys, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Pigskin Frenzy on this beautiful Thursday afternoon. Thank you for joining us. I'm Joel Norris, and whether you're watching on YouTube, listening on Spotify, listening on Podbean, or listening on Apple, a big thank you for taking some time out of your Thursday to just sit back, watch, and listen to some college football coverage and some spring football coverage presented by me. Now, if you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, like each episode, leave comments down below. I know a lot of people have been watching more on YouTube as of late, so keep on plugging in on there as well. We on Spotify, Podbean, and Apple on all audio platforms. All you got to do is just follow on there and like it, subscribe, and share around with others. There's X and Instagram at Pigskin_Frenzy. Follow, like the pages there. You're gonna get news and highlights and some coverage from across college football. They're gonna get trivia questions on Instagram stories. Go and answer today's college football question as well as all things up to date for Pigskin Frenzy. Guys, there's the website, www.pigskinfrenzy.weebly.com. There you will find all things up to date for Pigskin Frenzy. Home and About Me page. Learn more about me as your podcast host. There's the contact info down below. Name, email, question. I'll answer it on air or off air if need be. There's also the platforms page. All the platforms I just mentioned. Go and click on which one's your favorite listening style of the show. There's also store and affiliations pages. More on that coming soon as we continue to regularly update Pigskin Frenzy's website, www.pigskinfrenzy.weebly.com. Guys, we are ready to rock and roll. I'm fired up. I'm ready to go. It may not seem like it because a little bit of a, drowsy type thing. Just grinding. Just keeps on grinding. I'm gonna keep on grinding with Pigskin Frenzy. Still 4,900 plus listeners, about to get to 5,000 listeners on tap to reach that very, very soon. Probably even before the season starts. That was one of our in-season goals, to get at least 5,000. We're gonna eclipse that most likely before the season even starts. So thank you guys to keep on plugging in to Pigskin Frenzy each and every week. We could not do this without you guys. And not only that, most importantly, we couldn't do this without our Lord Jesus, and we praise him for him giving us the platform to do this show. We are ready to rock and roll with some spring results. Guys, I am ready to rock and roll. I am so, like I said, I'm so fired up, and it may not seem like it, but I am. Georgia, Texas A&M, Texas, and Oklahoma. 4 interesting teams. Two teams competed for a spot against Georgia in the SEC championship last year in A&M and Texas. And then Oklahoma still trying to find their footing, right? They're still trying to find their footing, but they may have found it. And they may have found it because I think they had a phenomenal spring. And we're going to talk about that at the conclusion of this episode. I'm fired up. I'm ready to rock and roll. Let's dive right deep into spring results. And let's go right into Georgia, because Georgia had an interesting season last year. Really, really hyped. The number 1 team entering last year. They played Clemson with starting quarterback Carson Beck for this team. We will talk about Carson Beck and coming up on Tuesday, but this is Thursday. So Carson Beck starting with the team. They beat Clemson, and then as the weeks went on, like I said, they just did not have the like you said. It seemed like they were really, really lacking help. Brock Bowers, Ladd McConkey, it was really getting to Carson Beck in this offense. Mike Bobo was drawing up plays. The plays were good, but not executed properly. And then the Alabama game came rolling around in Tuscaloosa, and by golly, was that a showdown. In the first half, it was all Alabama. In the second half, Georgia came back and ended up catching a lead late in the game. They ended up leading Alabama, and then Alabama, they just ended up putting the dagger in the coffin by burying Georgia with a Ryan Williams touchdown and then a late Carson Beck interception in the end zone. Alabama beating Georgia in Tuscaloosa. Georgia ended up finding itself within itself again. They ended up going to Austin a few weeks later on October 19th. Ended up beating Texas by about 15 points, and a lot of people were doubting Georgia. I even picked Texas to beat Georgia that game, and Kirby Smart said we were hungry and we were ready to eat. Back into a corner, you don't go against Georgia, right? ended up beating Tennessee and winning out. They ended up going to the SEC championship. I picked Georgia to win that SEC championship. They didn't play the best, but they found a way to win it. They beat Texas in double overtime, I believe, in the SEC championship, and ended up going to the college football playoff. They had a bye, and they went to play Notre Dame in the Sugar Bowl and lost. They got out physical, they got outmanned, and Notre Dame beat Georgia in that. That was pretty much their season right there. But going into this season, they didn't really have the and they really didn't have the receiving help. They didn't really have a lot of the same players, if you will, after this past year, right, in 2024. It was Kirby Smart said it was one of the best coaching jobs he's done. Now he's going into 2025 with a whole new quarterback, a brand new starting quarterback with Gunnar Stockton. Who started that game because Carson Beck got hurt in the in the SEC championship game. He announced that he would not play the Sugar Bowl. He was done for the rest of the year. Gunnar Stockton started that, and then Carson Beck entered the transfer portal, and Carson Beck went to Miami. Gunnar Stockton most likely will be the starting quarterback for 2025. We're going to get into how he did in just a little bit, but a lot of the things going on with Georgia to me entering 2025, if that was the rearview mirror, let's go into right now with what Georgia needs. Georgia needs some receiving help besides just Arian Smith. I mean, they got a little bit of that with Zachariah Branch. That was a huge pickup there from the USC transfer going to Georgia, a huge pickup there. I thought he was going to be a Georgia wide receiver heading into the spring and heading into the fall, and I was right. I had Georgia written all over it. That's a huge help. They needed that. But they need more than just those two guys for Gunnar Stockton. You got Nate Frazier, who most likely will be the starting running back for this team as well. So you got some weapons on this team, but let's see how they properly execute everything. Nitro Tuggle into the transfer portal. He is going to Purdue. You also have Michael Robinson the third. He's going to Purdue as well. Barry Odom snatching up those guys, and you still have two prominent receivers with Zachariah Branch and Arian Smith. So, Gunnar Stockton and the development of him, we're going to get into that here in a little bit, but you got some weapons. The struggles is the offseason mentality. What I mean by that is the program mentality, the culture, a lot of the legal stuff going on. I'm not going to get into deep detail about that, but the mentality, that is a concern to me heading into the 2025 year. I want to see them have a different mentality. I want to see them be hungry and strong and physical like the Georgia I know that they could be, because I think Kirby Smart's still the best head coach in college football. I still believe that Georgia is still a contender in college football, and they're a national powerhouse because of Kirby Smart in college football. So I don't think that's going away anytime soon. But we're going to get into the spring results and the spring game and what I liked about and what I didn't like from Georgia in this spring. So let's kick it off. Let's go about what I did not like for Georgia. And this is what I was kind of struggling with Georgia. For me, only for me, I think that Dylan Bell, good receiver. I think Dylan Bell's a good receiver. I think we need to see more of the receivers step up. Not just Arian Smith, not just Bell, not just Lawson Lucky, not just Zachariah Branch. We need more guys to step up depth-wise. I think the depth is what I need to see more of. I think the first string guys, right? The first string guys ended up playing, really, really great. I think the starters were good, but I want to see the depth of that team step up even more. The second, third strings, because if somebody goes down, next man up, right? I want to see them to be developed a lot more and play a lot better. That's what I wanted to see. I did not like what I saw from that end, and I think that's what needs to change there. I think the slow start a little bit was kind of an issue for me, starting off slow. I think I would try to start faster because of it sends a little bit of a more of a message. And the message is that we're still Georgia. We're coming to play here in the fall, and y'all best bring it against us, right? So I think they kind of slowed it a little bit down. They were a little bit of a slow start, if you will. And I think I didn't really like seeing that from Georgia. So those are a couple of things that I really didn't like seeing. Other than that, here's what I did like. I like I like Nate Frazier taking RB1 snaps. I liked how physical they were. They're still physical up front on both sides of the ball, line of scrimmage and defensive line. They're still reloading on that end. They're still playing with an edge and toughness, and I really, really like that about Georgia. I really like Gunnar Stockton and how he carried himself. I like how he carried himself mainly on third down. He made some good third down plays and converted the ball. And I really like seeing that from Gunnar Stockton. We didn't really see that in the second half of the SEC Championship that much and or the Sugar Bowl. And he made some of those throws like he was more developed in that area, which I really, really like that. Now, is he got to be more developed? Yes. This is probably going to be his first full season starting at quarterback for this team. So his first full season starting at quarterback for this team. So he's going to need some more help and some more development to lean on. But Gunnar Stockton making some plays early on like that and how he showed himself, right, and shined as a leader as well, really, really does make me feel confident in him entering the 2025 season. Like, he's an underrated prospect entering the 2025 season. Kirby Smart believes in him. Mike Bobo believes in him. Let's see how it goes there. I really liked how Gunnar Stockton made some good plays. I like the quarterback position as a whole in Athens. I like Ryan Polugsky from from the backup quarterback in Georgia. I like Ryan Puglitsky from Georgia. I really like him. He's a solid quarterback. He even has a shot at starting as well. I think Gunnar Stockton's going to be the guy, but I really liked him, and I like the depth of the position as well and the future of this position as well. I think they really did good. I think they look strong and physical, and, I mean, as always, because Georgia usually produces a physically strong team, but they need to produce an even more physical and strong team this year, especially after what happened in some games last year, especially the Sugar Bowl. So I think that it's a good sign that they're physical, that they're tough, and they're ready to go in that way. Conditioning, they look good conditioned, they look well conditioned, and they look ready to play. So I admire that, and that's what I like from Georgia as well. So overall, those are the things that I didn't like and what I did like out of Georgia to conclude the spring and entering fall camp and the 2025 season. So head coach Kirby Smart's back, offensive coordinator Mike Bobo, and defensive coordinator Glenn Schumann all back for the Georgia Bulldogs entering the 2025 season. My spring result for Georgia overall is a grade A. Not an A+, A-, a grade A. I'm going to tell you why it's an A, because I think there is room to improve, and there's more of, they can reach more if they wanted to and achieve a lot more with this team if they wanted to. I think an A is suffice. I don't think that they're an A+, but I do think they're an A. I think that they got some talent around them. I think they need to work on some things more. I think the backups and the depth of the team is showing a little bit of a concern to me, because I want to see if they lose a key player, is it next man up, or are they going to struggle at that position? That's what I'm worried about. I think they need to develop in the depth department and get the backups warmed up and get them ready and to condition and ready to go and play and developed into big time situations. Because what if a guy goes down and they're not ready, right? They need to be ready for next man up. So that's what I'm worried about a little bit. But other than that, an A is good. I want to see more heading into the fall, and I think that Georgia's still going to be top 10 in college football. If I had to give them an early ranking, it would be probably number 6 right now would be the best ranking I could give Georgia at this current state and time. So the first off, Georgia, grade A. That is our spring result for the Georgia Bulldogs for Pigskin Frenzy, entering, to conclude our spring results on Georgia and to enter the fall and 2025 season. So our Pigskin Frenzy spring result grade for Georgia is an A. That was our spring result for Georgia. Let's move on to down in Texas to Texas A&M College Station, Texas. Mike Elko entering his second season as head coach for this football team. And let me go on and tell you something. You did not expect Texas A&M to be competing for a spot in the SEC Championship at the end of the year. But you did see it last year. Starting out that first year, and he's competing for a spot in Atlanta, should show you promise that Mike Elko is a solid head coach and he can bring this team possibly to Atlanta. And I think that is a thing right there that honestly, honestly, you should be proud of if you're a Texas A&M Aggie. Now, a lot of people give me flack about and say, "Oh, this team's not a top 12 program." You're insane for saying this team's a top 12 program. They are a top 12 program in my books. They recruit well. They recruit well in the transfer portal, high school recruiting, and they got a lot of resources and facilities. They're putting up together a great coaching staff. Their stadium's electric. Academically, they look good. They look like a strong, well put together program. And I think now wins and losses, they're right at 500 or a little bit above, which that's got to get more consistent. I agree. But if the wins start adding up, you have no choice but to agree with me on this. I think that A&M, maybe not the past few years haven't been, but overall, when it comes to everything else, are a top 12 program in football. Not just when wins and losses. Now, wins and losses, you make it heavy on that point. But other than that, and that's what matters, wins and losses do matter. I'm not saying that. But the other things, the resources, the coaching, the facilities, the NIL budgets, the transfer portal recruiting, the high school recruiting, they just look the part of a top 12 program. And I think the way they're building up, they're on their way in the wins and losses department to be a team that is feared in the SEC even. A&M's building, and they are looking really, really good, especially, and I keep saying it, that wide receiver room. And I think that wide receiver room is going to look good, and I'm excited to see what Texas A&M has got cooked up heading into the fall as this spring is now concluded for them. They had their spring game. Head coach Mike Elko is back. Offensive coordinator Colin Klein is back, and defensive coordinator Jay Bateman is back for this team heading into 2020. Let's go into our spring results, and let's go into Texas A&M, and let's dive into what I liked and what I did not like from them this spring overall in the spring game as well. What I did not like, and is a key thing, is the offensive line depth. I said that before we even, during the spring outlook on Texas A&M, I wanted to see how the O-line was going to look on the depth-wise on the O-line. It has remained the same a little bit, and that concerns me a little bit. I think that the depth of the O-line, the first strings are solid. They are beefy. They are awesome. They are good offensive linemen. But the depth of the position, if somebody goes down, what's it going to look like, right? Who's going to hit next man up? I think that's a concern. The depth of the O-line position is going to be concerned. They in the spring game, they showed that there was a little bit of problems rotating wise and a little bit of problems in cohesion and just being as a firm unit. They didn't look like a firm unit. So that was a little bit of an issue there. So some offensive line issues are a little bit of a concern to me for the Aggies. That's one. I think that I think that overall, I think that the offensive line depth is a concern. I think the depth, I think the depth issue in general is a concern. That's my second thing that I did not like seeing. I think rotating in and out is a concern. I think getting the plays off at a consistent time is a concern too. There was some moments where they didn't really get the plays off at the right amount of time, and there was a little bit of confusion there. I think they need to be more mentally prepared. I think that's another issue as well. And those are the things that I really didn't like from this Texas A&M Aggies team. I think those are games. Those games can result. Those small things can turn into something much major and can be costly in games. So they got to get that cleaned up, and I have no doubt that they're going to get some things worked out. It's only spring. You got fall camp. You got preseason. They can work that out in fall. Hopefully. We'll see. But, mid-games and important conference games, they're going to need to try to get that cleaned up. Now, here's what I did like. I like Marcel Reed. I think Marcel Reed is a solid quarterback. I think he looked a lot more comfortable. I wanted to see more of his arm, and he showed a little bit more of his arm, and he made some good decisions. I think that he's got to get better at better decisions. I think he made some bad decisions, but he also made some good decisions as well, which is a sign to me that he's showing more room for growth. And I think that is what you wanted to see out of Marcel Reed. I think he's a solid runner. I think he's an athlete. I think he made some good throws. And I think he looked a little bit more comfortable. He most likely, it's either going to be Jacob Zeno, but you also can look at Marcel Reed and think, oh, this guy could be he's going to be QB1, and he looks like he's the firm QB1 for this team heading in to 2025. I am in love with the receiving core. I think the receiving core for this team is probably amongst the best in the SEC. I think KC Concepcion is a solid receiver, and he will most likely be a playmaker for this team. Do not underestimate this receiving core. I think this receiving core, not just KC Concepcion, all of them. I think all of them shined. Honestly, I really am. I really liked what I like from them. I think Mario Craver is as advertised as well. I think Casey Concepcion and Mario Craver are two guys that are going to be the playmakers at receivers, but you also got more depth at the receiving position. If there's anything that's not an issue at depth at the receiving, is the receiving core for A&M. So if there's not anything wrong with depth on this team, like depth is not an issue. You look at the receiving position on this team because the wide receivers for this team are loaded. Casey Concepcion and Mario Craver are the real deal on this team. I'm really high on them. I like that. I like Marco Jones, the defensive end at true freshman. I really liked their defensive line and how well they are unit. Marco Jones, the defensive end, he looked like he was balling out and making some plays. I think he can be a day one starter for this team as well. So these are some things that I really like from this team. Specific players, what I liked and what I wanted to see from Texas A&M. Offensively and on defense, I think they all look good and they can make a difference for this team. Overall, for my spring, A&M looked solid. They looked prepared and they looked well-oiled. Right now, are there things that they need to clean up? Absolutely. But this is a team, to me, that is a solid football team, and they really did have a good spring, in my opinion. My overall spring grade for them is an A. Not an A- or an A+, just a regular A. There's some room for development for them, especially at the depth position, but Mario Craver, Casey Concepcion, the receiving core is great. Marcel Reed's coming into it his own. He needs to be developed a little bit more, but he's developed quite a lot since the last time we saw him in the Las Vegas bowl game. He's developed even more, and in practice is going to be a good thing for him. I mean, they looked a lot more improved, and they looked a little bit more ready and prepared in Mike Elko's second season as A&M's coach and second spring as A&M's head coach. So an A is the best grade I can give Texas A&M. I'm curious to see what they're going to do in the fall. I'm curious to see what they're going to do overall heading in to the fall and the 2025 season. So that is my spring result for Texas A&M, and my grade is an A for them. So that was my spring result for the Texas A&M Aggies. Let's move on to two more teams before we conclude today's episode of Pigskin Frenzy, and it is the Texas Longhorns. The Texas Longhorns. No spring game for them, and they are coming off of a huge loss in the playoffs, semifinal loss in the playoffs against Ohio State, who are the eventual national champions. They ended up going back-to-back playoff appearances, and with Quinn Ewers in the semifinals, and they lost. They lose a ton of guys in the NFL, and they lost a ton of guys at the NFL. They bring back a lot of talent as well, though, because this team is ultra talented. Texas is looking ready to reload and rebound, and now we have finally made it to what everybody's been waiting for in college football and in the SEC, and that is the Arch Manning era. QB1 is Arch Manning, and it is his time to shine ahead of the Ohio State opener in August, and it is the first spring of him taking QB1 snaps, and I wanted to see how he looked as a full-on leader as QB1 for this team. I wanted to see a little bit more about the running back position and how everything's going to look for Sark's team this spring. So head coach Steve Sarkisian's back, along with offensive coordinator Kyle Flood and defensive coordinator Pete Kwiatkowski is all back for this Texas Longhorns coaching staff. Their spring is concluded, and we are ready to rock and roll with their spring results and what I like from them this spring, what I did not like from them this spring. Now, what I did not like, I like to get out of the way what I didn't like first. So, what I did not like from this spring, what I did not like was a little bit of the conditioning. I think the conditioning could have been a lot better for this team. I think being a little bit more well-conditioned for this team is it in the best way to put it, I really think that they just pretty much should have rested their team a little bit better, give more better prep and conditioning. That's what I really wanted to see from Texas. Really, is conditioning their players a little bit better and getting them ready on that end. There were some key injuries. Luckily, nothing major, but at the same time, resting their players and getting them well conditioned out of the spring. And I think that's really the only thing that I didn't like about this team. Because other than that, I have a lot more likes than dislikes for this team. I think this team's great. I think the secondary stood out. I think that they are going to do just fine replacing Jahdae Barron at the defensive back position. I think Jalen Guillebeau could be a guy that can replace Jahdae Barron as well. He looked really, really good. Arch Manning has arrived. He looks solid and ready to rock and roll. He shined, and he looked really, really good making decisions, throwing the ball a lot better. He looked mobile, and he looked like he made some good decisions during the spring, and he carried himself as the QB1 for this team. You got to see him more in-game, and I understand that. But he looks like he's going to be the real deal for this team and in the SEC. So right now, watch out for Arch Manning ahead of time. Just letting you know. Now, Ryan Wingo is going to be the truth for this team. I really, really liked him at the receiving core and as an athlete. I think that Jamie French, the new freshman receiver coming in for Texas, is going to be a solid addition for this team. And he was out there making plays early on as well. So he was one of the Texas newcomers for this team. Cade Phillips looks good. He looked really, really good in the secondary spot. I really liked overall how physical and tough they were. And I liked on both sides of the ball, offensive line and defensive line, they looked physical up front in the line of scrimmage. And I really, really liked that because games are won in the trenches. And Sark was preaching that this spring. And I really liked how well they were bolstered up front in the spring. I really did. I thought this team is phenomenal, and I think all around talent-wise, coaching-wise, they were mentally prepared, they were tough, and I really liked how they carried themselves in practices. I really did, honestly, and that's pretty much all I got really for Texas in my spring result for them. My spring result for Texas is an A+. I think they're the best team entering college football in 2025. Hands down, I really do. I think that their preseason, if I ranked anybody number one right now, it's Texas. I think talent-wise, I think coaching-wise, I think they're they have top-notch coaching. They have top-notch players. They're physical. They're tough. They're mentally prepared. They're getting a lot of practice in, and they look like they're the number one team entering week one in the college football season. I really am high on Texas. Texas has an A+ grade right now, and they have a lot of good playmakers early on coming into their own right now. The only thing I would clean up is the conditioning and get them well conditioned and properly conditioned ahead of fall camp and preseason. Other than that, my spring result grade for them is an A+, and I really, really liked what I saw from Texas this spring. So that is my spring result on Texas and what I liked and disliked, mainly liked about Texas entering the spring, concluding the spring and entering fall and the preseason. So that was my spring result on them. Last but not least, before we conclude today's episode of Pigskin Frenzy, let's talk about one team, and that is their counterpart in the Red River rivalry, and that is Oklahoma. A lot of people were thinking, okay, after Navy, and after losing a lot of guys to the portal after that, during that Armed Forces Bowl and after that Armed Forces Bowl, this can't get any worse. But I'm going to tell you what, they're sorely mistaken because it got a lot better for this team. Ryan Arbuckle is the new OC for this Oklahoma team. They couldn't find a defensive coordinator, so head coach Brent Venables will be the defensive coordinator for this team for the 2025 year. You bring in transfer quarterback from Washington State, John Mater, and that changed the game. And here's what really changed the game. Jim Nagy as the new GM for this team. He has played a significant part in recruiting and bringing in talent for this Oklahoma Sooners football program and team, and they are loaded up on the D-line, on the offensive line, at the quarterback position, at the running back spot now. Jalen Ott, Cal transfer running back, star running back from Cal, is now an Oklahoma Sooner, and he looked like he'll be a RB1 for this team. They got some playmakers on this team at receiver again. They have some playmakers at quarterback, and a playmaker at quarterback and a game changer at quarterback with John Mayer, and they have a game changer at running back in Jalen Ott. They got some guys on this team, all thanks to the GM hire of Jim Nagy. It is my favorite hire of the whole spring. Of the whole offseason, probably it is my favorite hire because Oklahoma now is trying to build up and bolster up and get ready because last year was like, okay, Brent Venables has got to do something type of season, and now they're entering a season where Brent Venables has to do something. They have a lot of talent coming in. Do I think they're going to be a undefeated team? I don't know. I can't really just say that. Who knows? But I think they're going to win a lot more games than they lost than they did that last year. They're going to win more than 7 games. They're going to win at least 9+ games. Oklahoma's going to win at least 9+ games. The way they are built and the way they are loaded, they look solid. And during the spring, I like the moves that they were making. You say, okay, they were calculated. They were calculated, and it was on the money. Head coach and defensive coordinator Brent Venables is back with this team. You also have offensive coordinator Ben Arbuckle, associate head coach and co-DC Todd Bates, all back for the Oklahoma Sooners. Here's what I did not like and did like about this team. One thing that I disliked was a little bit of the receiving thing. I want to see who's going to be the star, who's going to break away as the star playmaker at receiver for this team. That's really one of the only key things that I wanted to see from this Oklahoma Sooner team. I think that we saw a little bit, but not too much. I want to see more of a leap at that regard. That's really one of the only dislikes I have for this team. Other than that, surprisingly, I had a bunch more likes for this team. I really did. Number one, the running back spot. I am high on Jalen Ott. I think him coming in is going to be a huge thing for this team and entering fall camp and entering the preseason. That's going to be awesome. I really liked both sides of the ball on the line of scrimmage. They're a lot more tough and more physical, and they showed that in spring. I really like their conditioning a lot better. And I really liked how conditioned they were. I liked how physical they were. They looked a lot more physically prepared. Ben Arbuckle, I wanted to see the foundation of how the playbook and the offense and the scheme was going to work. They look like they're going to get ready to have an explosive offense of this team. And then John Mayer. He is the truth. He's off the field and on the field. He is a leader, and he shines off the field and on it. He is a solid quarterback, and he is going to be a quarterback that everyone's going to be talking about in the SEC coming up this season. He is a solid playmaker. He's a game changer at quarterback. He can make good throws. He's accurate, and he's a very smart decision maker, and he can throw the ball like it's nobody's business. He's got it. They struck gold with John Mayer and Ben Arbuckle. I think this is going to be a good move for both, for everybody all around. OU is looking fired up. They look ready, and I really like the mentality of this team during the spring. They looked really good during spring practice. I mean, there's really nothing else you can say other than those things, and that's what I liked about Oklahoma. That's the only really dislike I had about OU as well. I mean, what Jim Nagy's doing for this program is insane. He's making waves for this roster. He's building a roster. He's trying to get some more playmakers for this team before the window's up, and he's just getting everything going, right? And I really, really like how they're operating. I really do. So overall, my spring result grade for Oklahoma is an A+. Because they've had an A+ spring. They have been white hot this spring. They're making moves, and they're ready to kind of shock a lot of teams in the SEC this year, and I'm really wanting to see if Brent Venables can do that, and he really needs it. This is a really must-win season for Brent Venables during this season heading into 2025. So A+ spring for me for Oklahoma. I really liked what I saw from them. They had a white-hot spring, and they're continuing to have a good offseason ahead of fall camp and the preseason ahead of the 2025 college football season. So Oklahoma gets an A+ spring result grade from me and Pigskin Frenzy. That was Oklahoma spring results. And guys, that was Georgia spring result, Texas A&M spring result, Texas spring result and Oklahoma's spring results. Guys, we are out of time. A big thank you for taking some time out of your Thursday to just sit back, watch, and listen to some college football coverage and some spring football coverage presented by me. Now, after watching on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, like each episode, leave comments down below, Spotify, Podbean, and Apple. All you got to do is just share around with others and follow on there as well. X and Instagram at Pigskin_Frenzy. Follow all the pages there. You're going to get episode updates, news and highlights from across college football, trivia questions on Instagram stories, go and answer today's college football question, as well as all things up to date for Pigskin Frenzy. Guys, there's the website, www.pigskinfrenzy.weebly.com for all things up to date for Pigskin Frenzy and more on the show. Guys, big thank you for taking some time out of your Thursday to just sit back, watch, and listen to some college football coverage presented by me. This is episode 219, and we will be back with episode 220 coming up Tuesday with Georgia Tech, Miami, Mississippi State, and Vanderbilt. Our spring results on those 4 teams, 2 teams from the ACC, 2 teams from the SEC, all on tap. Coming up this Tuesday, Georgia Tech, Miami, Mississippi State, and Vanderbilt. You're not going to want to miss our spring results on those 4 teams coming up on Tuesday. Guys, we hope you have a great weekend. We thank you all for tuning in each and every week, Tuesday and Thursday, to just listen to this show. 4,900 plus listeners. We could not do this without our Lord and Savior, Jesus. And guys, if you want to come to know Jesus, if you want to come to know him and want to know, understand what a great relationship is like, guys, you're not going to want to miss out. And this is the best decision you'll ever make, is to be saved by Jesus. Contact me on X and Instagram at Pigskin_Frenzy, as well as the website, www.pigskinfrenzy.weebly.com, on the contact info down below to get to know who Jesus is and be saved by Jesus. We cannot do this without him. We give him all the praise and thank yous for this platform to do this show on and to praise his name and spread his name in love and grace each and every Tuesday and Thursday. So we're praying for you all, and we love you all. Guys, we're signing off here. I'm Joel Norris. We will see you Tuesday for another edition of Pigskin Frenzy and another spring results edition of Pigskin Frenzy on Tuesday. We're praying for you all. We love you all. Have a great weekend. We love you all. As always, stay the course.